Hello, everybody. I'm George from Ireland, and this video is to say stop the death penalty in Singapore. In fact, I would like it stopped all over the world. Now, Singapore has achieved so much in many spheres, is highly economically developed, is very safe, is very clean, has many virtues, so many enviable attainments. But that doesn't justify the execution of people, particularly for offences less than murder. So this year, 2025, has been very troubling to see 17 people executed for drug offences, and that is the greatest number since 2003. So it has got the severest anti-drug laws anywhere in the world, right? Which is terrible. There's a philosophical debate: should people be allowed to take drugs or not? They're definitely injurious to a person's health. That bit is not up for debate. Should this be dealt with as a criminal matter, or as a medical matter, or what? And there's societies which have decriminalized, like Portugal, or I think it's Uruguay, been much more successful in bringing drug deaths down. Now, I know that drug addiction can be a scourge, not just for those who abuse drugs, but for wider society, can lead to crime, but often because it's criminalized, because people have to pay so much to get a hold of these dangerous drugs that they'll turn to robbery and things like that. So under Singaporean law, anybody found guilty of trafficking, which means the transshipment of drugs, even if not actually selling them, even if not for money, over 15 grams of diamorphine, 30 grams of cocaine, 250 grams of methamphetamine, or 500 grams of cannabis will be sentenced to death, and the execution is usually carried out. There have been cases where Westerners have been caught and released after only a few years, and there's an inequity in that. You could say it's hang the Oriental, spare the Occidental, which is wrong. They might say, well, we can quickly correct that by hanging Westerners who are caught with these drugs as well. Well, I prefer they didn't do much better to show mercy to everyone. So Singapore, as a highly developed nation, should be humane, and the Singaporeans agree with me. You might say, I'm interfering in the internal affairs of Singapore, and I'm not a Singaporean, and I've never lived there, and so forth. Well, I'm speaking up for humans. We speak up for all humans everywhere. Now, my country is the world. My religion is to do good to some extent, right? And I realize that nation states are entitled to pass their own criminal laws to decide for themselves whether the death penalty ought to be allowed or not. What I'm doing is opining. And please, I welcome your opinions on the Republic of Ireland or the British Isles more broadly, and no doubt you will give me the benefit of your wisdom. So it's compulsory for judges to award the death penalty to those who do that. So what about the person's right to life? Someone would be killed for 15 grams of a substance, no matter what that substance is. Bear in mind, diamorphine has a medical form and is legally used in hospitals sometimes. And yes, cannabis is harmful to you, but it's not that harmful. It usually takes years to die of it. If you die of it at all, some people take it a few times, not addicted with it. It doesn't affect them too badly. Some people are affected very badly, can make them mentally ill. I know it's carcinogenic, but it takes a very long time to die. At the same time, allowing alcohol and cigarettes, and alcohol can kill you in a matter of hours, where cannabis is going to take years and so on. So it conflicts with the Singaporean constitution. It's conflictual because the constitution of the Republic of Singapore says no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty save in accordance with law. Well, the law has that, but it is unjust, it is cruel, it is grossly excessive, because even executing people for murder is contentious. These crimes are much, much less than murder. There are very controversial cases where 18-year-olds are mentally subnormal, just duped into carrying something they thought was medicine. I remember one judge said he knew, or he ought to have known it what it was. Ought to have known is a totally different thing from he actually knew. And there have been some tragic, very tendentious cases like Saminathan Selvaraju, a Malaysian, if I got that right, but who transported over 300 grams of diamorphine from Malaysia to Singapore in 2013. He was caught. Okay, he drove his company's trailer, and and the drugs weren't brought into Singapore by him. Several drivers used. There's no proof it was him. Is there more than is it proven beyond reasonable doubt? No, there is major doubt. He was probably innocent. There were these pre-written immigration cards with his signature in the vehicle, which gave a Singaporean address where the drugs were found, right? But he said he's not the one who wrote it. So it might not have been the one who wrote it. It's not proved that he wrote it. There is major, major doubt. And even if he did, even if you wrote it, that doesn't prove that he transported the drugs. It could have been somebody else. Wow. Somebody who has the keys to the place where the drugs are secreted is presumed to have been the one who owned them until unless you can prove to the contrary. How can you possibly prove a negative? And somebody else could have the keys. They could have been put there without your knowledge. You could have put something in there not realizing drugs were hidden inside. So it's terrible. And so mercy ought to have been shown. And the president has not exercised his prerogative of mercy to save these people. So it's terrible. The other thing is they're held in inhumane conditions in very, very small cells. So it uses the death penalty so much, and is the only place in the world where the death penalty is mandatory for supply of drugs, not the People's Republic of China. Yes, that sentence is often handed down by the bench in China. They're often executed, but it's not mandatory. And I know that a high majority of those in Singapore are in favor of the death penalty for trafficking a significant amount of drugs. Well, how much is significant? And there are heartbreaking cases of penniless single mothers who do this to try and earn a bit of money and so on. And all it's doing is killing the mules. It doesn't take out the Mr. Big. Some of them are Myanmar drug lords who stash their money in Singapore. If there really is this principled moral stance against that, then you wouldn't accept what you know is tainted money. So it's terrible. It's not the gravest of crimes. Yes, it's a bad thing, okay, but really it's not tantamount with murder. People have been foolish. People have been coerced into this. They should not be executed. A civilized society should show mercy, should be very reluctant to kill people. And they're held in tiny cells before they're executed. I know this is bizarre tradition. They're allowed to wear whatever they want to when they meet their death. They put on their finest clothes. And then you think of the suffering you inflict the family of the condemned, the stress, the grief for the mother, father, the sister, brother, the spouse, the children of that person. You don't need to put them through this. You keep this person in prison for a very long time, maybe for life. There could be some happiness, some connection. Take a totally healthy person who's not harmed anyone. People take these drugs because they want to take them. They might be very foolish to take them, but they're not beating people to take drugs. It'd be better if nobody took drugs. Okay, why would you want to poison your veins with that filth? I never touch that stuff, but please don't execute these people. Please be ruth and spare them, and that's magnanimity, and that's the sign of a mature and an honourable society that treats even its worst people with some mercy. And afraid that the Singaporean government does not. And I know that there's some brave and humane Singaporeans who say, no, we shouldn't do this. We should protect the human. We should allow rehabilitation. There must be forgiveness. These people have done wrong. Bad people can turn good. And this person, he or she is not all bad. That they're not really vicious. So yeah, goodness, it's a terrible breach of human rights. So some of these people should be viewed as victims as well. And it's terrible when people are executed when the evidence against them is very dubious indeed. A totally innocent person may be sent to his death. I don't know if Singapore allows posthumous appeals. So far as I know, none of these convictions has been overturned posthumously. But, surely there is major doubt from what you've heard. Anyway, because once you execute someone, there's no appeal from beyond the grave. No system is perfect. No judge, no jury is perfect. Inevitably, innocent people will be killed. And it's not a wartime. You have to make a snap decision. You get it wrong sometime. This is coldly, calmly, with years to think about it, execute the person, anyone. And you don't have to do that. You could show mercy.